Okay, we are, from what I can tell, live, I think. Yep, there we are. All right. Now live, got the email, everything, cool, we are good. So today we're gonna continue on with what we've actually been doing off stream, which is a bit of refactoring. Let me turn this on quickly, that's probably a bit better. Which is a bit of refactoring around some of the changes that Tom has suggested we make. Coffee. Which are good suggestions as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to sort of continue on and try and make those work, basically. So it's been I think a few days. I started a new job and that sort of stuff. So hopefully now I'll be back to sort of more regular streaming, hopefully. So yeah, that's what we're going to try and do today. We're going to keep refactoring. We had a couple of bugs with the movement. So we're going to try and finish the refactor, get rid of this old entity class, and then move all of the entities into the new world with the correct entity controller. So, like I said, I've made a start on this. So if I try and compile now, I should have some errors to fix. So we're going to be moving through and fixing these errors, and then we're going to do some testing, and hopefully at that point it would be really nice at the end of this session to have all of the entity systems into the new world and to be in a position where we can start working on the definition of the rooms, because that's kind of what I was doing before I realized that, yeah, we probably should fix this bug first before we move on to new features. So yeah, editor controller handle input is probably a good place to start. And we're saying that the reducer add entity is not going to work. Right. Selected tile type, palette entry. I was actually working on getting from memory. Now, I just remember now. I was actually working on getting the timing right, but let's not worry about that for the moment. Let's just sort of work through as many of these errors as we can, and then we can get to that timing thing, which I'll explain then. So reducer.add entity. We need an entity type. Okay. Entity type. Yeah, because I removed it. I removed the entity type from here. I just can't. I think it got the. Yeah, this is the code here. I actually moved it out to make it a little bit more flexible. So if we do this here, we don't have the state though. Do we have state here? We should have it in okay, we've got the reducer. So all right, so reducer.get state. Well, let's just do auto state equals reducer.get state. Done. Okay. And then entity type is entity type, like that. Yeah, I knew I actually had to move that piece of code. Okay. One less error. Construct has. Okay, so yeah, we'll be calling the getters in a few places where we just won't need them, or we shouldn't really be using them. We should just be talking to the state directly. So that's in player controller. So let's fix that now. Just get rid of this comment. Player controller. Okay, so I don't know why it's not erroring there on me. I think there's some problem with entity.type maybe? Should be entity.type. Okay, so this is that controller issue that I was talking about. Yeah, okay, so what I've done is I've changed the way we actually, as part of the suggestions that Tom made for the calculation, we actually need a delta time in. So I'm going to have to figure that out myself. I haven't really ever done a delta time calculation before in this way, so I'm going to have to figure it out. I've got a pretty solid idea on how I want to do it, but here, this is going to complain at me and say, you're providing the wrong type for controllers.pushback because that's changed. So if we go to house scene, the header file, and then we go down to controllers, I've actually created this new struct called timed controller, and then timed controller has the controller as well as this SFML clock, which is like the controller clock. So the idea is that each controller will have its own clock, and then that will know the difference between each update call, and that will be able to pass in the correct delta. So we need to do a couple of things when we instantiate the controller. I'm wondering if it's worth just defining an extra method for this. Don't really know if that's going to be necessary. It might just... Yeah, I don't think that's totally necessary. Timed controller, and then SF clock. I think I can just do that. And then here, this. That is not happy with me for reasons. Because I've got these around the wrong way. That should be there. No comma. And that looks kind of... I'm really not crazy about the way CLang formats some things sometimes, but what are you going to do? So same here, timed controller, and then the controller itself, and then that, and then SF clock, and then same here. So timed controller, that, the controller itself, and then SF clock. So we have 3 different clock instances for 3 different controllers. And then I guess one kind of potential way of doing this that might make things a bit more simple is if you had some sort of constructor pattern that took in the controller itself, but I don't really see a whole lot of value doing that. Alright, let's rebuild. At some point I'm gonna have to set velocity. Did you mean velocity and house scene reducer? I probably did. Same here, trans. I think it's position. I might want to set the naming of that. Oh wait, was that set velocity? Yeah, I might want to change those names at some point. I changed from transform to position, so yeah. Okay, so get entity state, that should just be like a state, I think. It should just be state, yeah, like that. Yep. Let's do the same thing. Oh, and this will just be a type. Yep. And then this will be position. And then type here. Get tile map index. Okay, interesting. Ooh, no. Get tile map index. It's to view. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I took this tile map index thing out of here. Yeah, I don't have this in the new version. Can't quite remember the intention that I had with this though. Yeah. What did I intend here? So this is trying to get the... How does it figure the entity sprite sheet? I think this is that... It looks like it's a member. That's a member of the entity view. Okay, so that seems fine. Sprite to draw. So this would be... I think this would be the current frame in the animation, probably. Yeah, I guess this would be the current frame in the animation. If I look at... Let's just quickly look at the old entity class and just double check that, because we don't want to go off changing it until... So source entity. Let's look at the header. It's probably going to be easier. Entity header. Get tile map index. There. So, okay. We will have to look at the source. So that just... So that just looks at the underlying yeah, okay, so I wonder if we can just do it in line for now and then worry about this later. I don't know if this is wise, but let's just give it a try. Seems odd to have a type definition there as well. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Seems like a bad idea. Alright, so if I go type, utype, where does it actually reference the entity itself though? Entity type, type, utype. Doesn't... Oh, wait, the type is... Okay, so this will be entity.type. Like that. Yeah, it seems weird that we would do this every... Maybe we'll just put it with the entity header. Seems to make sense than anywhere else. I don't know if that'll cause other problems. Right, so next is reset player. Hastin reducer reset player. Okay, so there's an issue here. I suspect it will be in this find if, and there it is. I really want to fix my... Currently my Vim plugin doesn't seem to pick up on errors inside Lambda blocks in C++, which is okay, but it just means that I have to recompile and get the error output from GCC rather than relying on the editor to provide it for me. Alright, so entity rotation, transform. Alright, so I'm guessing... where was that? And in entity view... Entity view. Okay, so yeah, same problem here. Like none of these are really right. So I don't know until I try and compile. So I really want to work that one out because it's a little bit annoying. Entity.getRotation. I'm guessing that'll be entity.rotation. Don't think we have... Don't think we have a rotation on the entity. No. Do we have one in this? Entity get rotation. Okay, so we have it, but it always returns 0. So we don't support rotating entities yet. So defining it like that, and that will probably... If I don't do that, I think it will error out because it'll expect a rotation value to be there, but it's not actually ever being set, I think. No, it'll actually hurt my constructor. All right, that's okay. We can fix that later. So this will start complaining about how we initialize entities. Yeah, so there we go. So that's straight away. That's what that error is. Okay, so this is probably the update. Yeah, this is probably worth working on next. This is the time thing that I was talking about, calculating the delta time. Oh, there's one more. Actually, let me fix this get transform first, then we'll do the delta time, and hopefully by that stage we'll be left with just those entity constructor problems. So entity view 49 get transform. Get transform, this will be position. Yeah, position like that. All right, let's rebuild. Yeah, update player controller. Okay, so what I've done is, if you look at the controller here, I've actually added this SF time to the method signature, and then I haven't actually updated the other, so there'll be a bunch of controllers. So if I look at, let me just not break things. So if I just split my view here and I go player controller.h, update won't be there. In fact, it'll be an integer, which we don't want. We want SF time. And then I think there'll be editor controller as well. Yep. And then this will be SF time. This time actually as well should be const. So we're just reading it. A controller. Const time, and then I think so editor control player toolbar controller const SF time done. All right, that should make it happy now. We'll have a bunch of implementations that now don't work, so let's fix those up. Player controller update. Yeah, so time delta is not an int, it's a const. SF time like that. Let's hold off on fixing that for the next moment. Tool control. This is editor controller, same deal. Const SF time delta. So this time delta will be used more as we kind of get into the more sort of like the movement and the physics and all of that kind of stuff, like all of kind of the calculus-y type things that we need to do, like the game development calculations over time and blah blah blah. That time delta will become more significant because it's needed for, you know, working out positions and velocities and speeds and all kinds of things like that. So we're just kind of getting in early, and it makes sense for an update method to get a time delta in there as far as I'm concerned at this point, unless anyone in the chat or anything like that tells me otherwise. That's how we're doing it. All right, so toolbar controller will be the last one. And we haven't even got an update defined in this one yet, so who cares? SF time delta time. And this will be a const. This will never be changed. Alright, so let's try and rebuild now. Okay, so there's the type error there, and there's the entity state thing. So let's fix the type error first. So the time delta, what? Yeah, okay. I can do microseconds, that's really high resolution. Let's just do milliseconds for now. I'm going to assume in Tom's example he was dealing with... Let's just have a quick look at Tom's example again. I'm going to assume that his code was dealing in milliseconds, but I'm not actually sure. Let's have a look. So yeah, this is Tom's issue here. And he posted some example code, which is really, really helpful. So he's got elapsed here, but he doesn't actually specify what resolution is elapsed. I'm gonna assume it's milliseconds. This is JavaScript, I think he's written here. Yeah, JavaScript, so I don't know if it defines any higher resolution than that. So we'll probably just do it with this. The fact that he's dividing by 1,000 there, yeah, that's probably the giveaway, as I think. Yeah, so he's dealing in milliseconds here, so this should be fine for our purposes. We're not up to that point yet, so let's try and rebuild. Okay, so we're down to the last error, which is the initialization problem that I mentioned before. This is because we added that rotation thing in. So max velocity and then damping, acceleration force, and then entity state. So I think it'll be 0 here. 0 rotation like that. Okay, we have a linking issue by the looks of it. What is it? It's saying we don't have update player velocity, and there's every chance I haven't actually defined that. Update player state. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go and grab a drink, guys. I'll be right back, and then we'll fix these linking issues. Okay. So we need to got a couple of undefined methods in the house scene reducer by the looks of things. So there's no update player, but update player void house scene reducer update player position vector 2f new position like that. And then, probably should have this in a method at some point. Now, interesting here, well, I don't know if this is something that I want to do right now, probably not, but this is a little bit of a code smell to me that we're doing this essentially the same thing in two places. Yeah, so this found player thing, and the fact that we have to do it in another method that's called by this method, yeah, that's, to me, there's a bit of a code smell. So we have to do this in two different places. I'm just going to do it now, but later down the track, we should definitely try and clean that up. Because, yeah, it doesn't make sense to have to do that in two different places. Maybe there should be some sort of... I'm hesitant to have another class that sits in between the reducer and the controllers, but it seems like there's really common behavior here that's used in a few different places, and we've kind of duplicated this little found player snippet in all of those places. Yeah, so we'll have to think about that. Let's try that. Okay, so update player state. What is this actually doing? Update player velocity. Okay, so update player state. Yeah, it's the same deal. We're pretty much going to have to... yeah, we're going to have to do this in a couple of places. Yeah. Update player state. Entity state. New state. Okay. Amazing. Alright, so yeah, new state, and then was there one more? Maybe it was velocity, I think. Yeah, update player velocity, so let's just do the same thing. Scene reducer. Okay. Alright. Let's try that. Okay, it builds. Alright. And we have a blank screen. That's not very good. Oh, there we go. Okay, we have no player movement. That's okay. At least the flip-flopping has been fixed. Okay, so what's going on here? Why? Alright, so that I'm trying to move the player around, and it looks like the view isn't getting centered, and also the player doesn't respond to any input, so I don't know what's happened here. We may have to fiddle around with VS Code to get debugging. Oh, excuse me. We may have to fiddle around with VS Code to get debugging, maybe. Yeah, so what would cause this? I mean, it's possible that the delta isn't getting calculated correctly. The animation still looks right. Interestingly, the view doesn't center now. I cannot for the life of me remember what we used to center the view. Yeah, I can't for the life of me work out. I'll see. This creates all the animations. Controller update. I'm just gonna check the SFML doc to make sure that I'm using this clock class correctly. If I'm not, then that might cause problems. That view not centering suggests that it's a bigger problem than just this implementation of the clock. Alright, utility class measures elapsed time. The most precise time that an underlying OS can achieve. The return time can never go backward, even if the system time has changed. Okay, restart. Since the clock starts automatically after being constructed, that's exactly what I would expect it to do. Okay, so yeah, nothing seems strange there. The time class works as I expected as well, and I would expect the operating system I'm on to be able to achieve milliseconds. So let's call that working for now. The animations are definitely getting updated. These views don't seem to be... What's the method that centers a SFML view? SF view. Set size, set center. I think it's set center. Sets the center of the view. That's really saying everything and nothing at the same time. TER. Alright, so the house scene reducer is the only house scene reducer, set center. Set house view center. Okay, so we're no longer calling set house view center. Where were we calling it before? That's very interesting. Set house view. Feel like this has been in player controller. Okay, so why don't we call it there anymore? Oh, because I think I nuked that. Yes. Because I redefined this update method and that didn't make it. Okay. Okay. So that would explain that. Alright, let's try and build this. Okay, good. Alright. That's okay, so that's that problem sorted. That's good. Now the other problem, this one, this controller input, the update. All right, so this is definitely running. Just looking at, I don't know what I'm actually setting acceleration force to. But let's just look through one at a time. We find the player. Okay, so the first thing, all right, so that code I'm going to assume is all fine. The first thing that I'm seeing is acceleration force and the time delta. So I want to know what those two values are. So we are going to have to debug, unfortunately. And you're going to have to deal with me fumbling around with VS Code for however long this thing takes me. I think I might have deleted my... Yeah, I have. LLDB, I guess. I'm using G++. Terminated with remember my choice show errors. Okay, so this, I think it's just built this for me. Alright, let's just, don't care about Docker right now. I don't particularly want to update VS Code right now either. This is board. Okay, so it kind of knows. Build and debug active file. Oh, active file, so... Well, I guess that'll be main. Let's try this. Okay, so it can't debug anyway. Okay, so it doesn't... Pretty sure I need to tell it where the workspace? Workspace root build project X. I think that's the name of the binary. Build with lowercase b, and then yeah, so it'll be like this. So all the way down. Let's try that. Abort. All right, so but it wants to file format not recognized. Treating as link script. So it's, I don't want it to really try and build anything. Set up commands. Current working directory should always be a workspace. Root, I think I've set everything up to run from there. Request launch. I don't know if that'll help. It's trying to debug. Is there a way? It's trying to build as well as debug, but I don't know. Build and debug active file. Launch. This is all the same stuff. MIMO GDB. Setup commands. Enable pretty printing. Pre-launch task. Maybe I shouldn't have this. Debugger path. Okay, so that's promising. So then I should be actually building with the debug symbols enabled. So if I go to plane is so loud. Alright, so that's all loaded. Presumably I can just stick a breakpoint in the player controller implementation and then start debugging. Alright, cool. I think that was fairly easy. I don't know how I'm going to build from here, but one problem at a time is certainly the best way to do this. Alright, so if we go, let me close this and just resize that so we're all kind of on the same page. That's just sitting there, and then we've got our local variables, our watches, our breakpoints. Okay, so I think we're in a fairly reasonable shape. So can I step over? Yes. Okay, so we're finding a player. That's good news. Can I look at that player? Registers. Oh, I can look at those. All right, cool. Alright, so found player here, that's good news. Damping 5, acceleration force is 0. Okay, so straight away there's an issue here, like this is just going to be multiplied by 0. I would like to know time delta has some value in it. Alright, so acceleration force is 0. So that would certainly at this stage mean that nothing would happen, because I believe whatever force comes out will be 0, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so force is just 0, acceleration will be 0, and then everything beyond that will be 0. Okay, so acceleration force we need to set to something. So let's attempt to do that now. That's in, I think that's in identity, yeah. Identity. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's see. Okay, so acceleration, velocity, type, position, max velocity, rotation, damping, acceleration force 10. Let's try that. Okay, and then we'll try and build this. Not build, rather, run. Already built it. Okay, so cool, I think. Let's put that in. Alright, so it's going crazy. Alright, so that's one problem. Cool. Okay. Interestingly, it doesn't seem to be. Okay, so one problem I can see straight away. I don't know if this is getting reset. Okay, so that's happening probably much more often than I would like. So there's definitely a bug there. And interestingly, I don't, huh. If you pressed right, here, there. There.
Did you message Mum?
No, not yet. I'll do it now. This definitely isn't right, but it shouldn't cause issues just now. To me, it feels like something is just not staying consistent. Could be another point of problem, could be this map bounce thing. That could be too. So this temp velocity thing. Can I add a watcher? Okay, so that's definitely wrong. So the temporary velocity is flipping between negative 30 and 30. Which is weird. Particularly when I've got nothing, I'm holding nothing down. So yeah, that's definitely not right. So yeah, that is 100% not right. Let's just step through this one by one. Probably is the easiest thing to do now. Alright, so what step is F10? So force. Even that doesn't look quite right, because I would expect... Force 382. Okay, so let's just step over again. Okay, what do we got for acceleration here? Player velocity. Okay, so this is getting to... Alright, so this is getting... So the velocity is getting screwy and not recovering. Acceleration should be 0, 0. Yeah. Alright, so that's good. That's what I would expect that to be. The damping value has come out as 150. Because that's the velocity. And then that clamp value comes at 30. Okay, so... Oh, sorry, no, that max... Okay, that max velocity is 30. So... It's getting clamped correctly. Huh. Acceleration. Force. Let me just go back to Tom's reference, because I think I've made a mistake somewhere here. I think I have made a mistake somewhere. So he zeroes the acceleration, which is interesting. Now I am not doing that. Okay, so that could, although, when I, okay, so this force gets added to a zeroed acceleration in the direction. Yeah, this might actually be the problem here. This does not look right with what he's... Oh, sorry, you guys can't see. Yeah, it's something to do with this calculation. This initial acceleration calculation does not look right. Although I would expect it to be... Oh, well, no, because if it's not right, if it's not ever right, then it Yeah. So here we're taking the input. And we're adding the force to the acceleration based on the input. I think that will work though. Maybe I'm missing something here. I think that works. Oh, but wait, it will always apply them. Yeah, okay, so yes, that is definitely a problem. It will always apply the acceleration regardless of what direction it's going in. Yes. Yeah, I think. Yeah, this will always apply the acceleration no matter what. No, but we multiply by the input vector. So if the input vector is 0, 0, it will never apply acceleration. If the input vector is y1 is x0, y1, it will only apply the force. It will multiply the force by 1 and apply that force to the acceleration, which it then takes. So we then calculate the velocity. We get the existing velocity and add that newly calculated acceleration, which should be 0. Don't see why that's a problem. Damping is the inverse of the current velocity multiplied by the damping. That looks right too. Just hold on a second, guys. I'll be back. Okay, let's try and get this finished off. I'm pretty keen to get this working again. So yeah, basically the problem as I see it is the values are just flip-flopping around to and fro. I think what's happening is the initial velocity never gets calculated correctly. So it's always kind of blown way out beyond the clamp value. Just to look at the clamp value here. Clamp velocity. Actually, we use clamp twice. Temp velocity. This acceleration is always zeroed. That shouldn't always zero the acceleration. I mean, it's effectively we're doing the same thing because we just define a new acceleration and then the force elapsed by the player's acceleration force. Which is 10. Oops. So that acceleration should be 0, 0 there. Yep. But the current velocity, which is negative 30, which doesn't seem right. Let's change that acceleration force from like from 10 to like 0.5. That just looks way too high. Doing anything? What's happening here? It doesn't like being in there. Alright, so 0.5 force is 0 for reasons. Acceleration is 0. Then velocity is 0. That'll be 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 clamped to 0 is 0. Yep. All right. Force is tiny. So that's... that. So it clamps it in between those two values. And then it adds that. Yeah, so that velocity should be also a lot smaller. That's just going to fly across the screen. Yeah, that will just fly across the screen. Yeah, okay, and then, alright, in that case then velocity should be afloat. Like that. Okay, back to here, stop that. Start. Okay. All right, that's working, but it's super duper slow, which is okay. So I think, yeah, we just had some wrong numbers there. Max velocity, rotation, damping, acceleration, force. So we could probably set that to 2 from 30. Yeah, so it wasn't actually... I'm not sure if that's actually getting... Okay, so something is happening that's causing, yeah, something is happening that's causing the position to not be updated properly, I think. Okay. And I think it's possibly this. Okay, so that's state acceleration. Oh, what are we doing here? Found player. Velocity. Interesting. Not sure that this is the right way to be doing this. So we create this temp velocity. Apply acceleration to velocity. Apply damping to velocity. So that's accelerated velocity. Then we grab the damping. And then apply that to the temp velocity. We then clamp the temp velocity. We then grab the player position. We then clamp the player position. I can't see anything different. The only problem that I've got is this map bounds width. State dot map bounds. So that's only 20, whereas that should be like, it should be 16 by 4. Let me just gonna hard code these values because I think this will be actually pixel value rather than, so it'll be something like this times scale is 4 times the pixel size is 16, and then we'll do the same for height. Times 4 times 16. And then, oops. Let's restart. Okay, so still flickering in place. I think it's going to be... Yeah, I think it's going to be easier. Oops. So not that. So half of the entity size how are we doing it here? Clamp between half of the entity size and the width minus clamp value. Clamp logic definitely looks right. Let's just make sure the clamp logic is working properly. Well, rather we should just try and yeah, let's just walking idle. Entity size. Positional Y. Map bounds height. Okay, so if we go reduce the state entities, the first one, player entity, accelerate position 0, 0. Okay, so it's flip-flopping between 2 and 0. Right, alright, so... Yeah, we knew that, so that's why it's looking jittery. Temp velocity 2 and 0. Yeah, and it's because this temp velocity is flip-flopping between 0 and -2. It's gotta be input state controller 1 0 0. What is causing that to don't get why. Yeah, I'm really struggling a little bit to figure out why that flip-flopping is happening like that. Force. Acceleration. So yeah, it's the temp velocity right now should be 0. So if we go in here, we zero acceleration out. We grab the force, whatever that is. We apply it to the acceleration. We then add the existing velocity to the acceleration. So if there's no input, acceleration is 0. Yeah, then the velocity here will never ever get back to so the damping maybe is so temp velocity at this point is -2, 0, and damping is 10. Damping is a negative velocity. State.damping. I think it's this calculation. See, we start with negative velocity and then we multiply it by the player's damping, which is 5. I don't know if I'm going to get this today, guys. I think I'm going to have to call it. I think I'm going to have to call it pretty soon, unfortunately. See, I would expect that damping to be reducing. Damping should really be less than position. Here we go. He's got actually... So max velocity is 100. Damping is tiny. Alright, let's actually... Yeah, I think the damping is way too high. So add scene reducer. Damping is way too high. Entity. Position. Max velocity. So he's got max velocity being like 2. So I can put 100. Rotation 0. Damping is 0.1. And acceleration force, he's got 30, so that's where I got that from. So I think those might be better values. Let's see. I really, unless, I don't think I have missed something obvious, but I don't see any problem with the way that the figures are being worked out. Don't know how sensible they are. The input is, at least. Okay. Alright, so it doesn't jitter around like crazy. The view is kind of moving, but the player does not seem to be moving. And it only moves to a certain point. Yeah, I'm going to have to call this here, guys, and continue debugging at another time. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry we didn't get there. I'm sure we'll get there next time. As per usual, comments and questions always welcome. Alright, see you next.